At the T-minus 3-minute mark, tape recorders on board the spacecraft were turned on. These recorders record both voice and data.
This is WOMM LP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 The Radiator. It's Rocket Shop. I'm your host, Tom Proctor. With me tonight is a box of stars. How's it going, guys?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Not at all. And thank you for being the first musicians to be in our brand new studio.
Yeah, we're honored.
It was very much new news to me when I came into our old studio this afternoon and discovered that no one was there and all the posters had been taken down. So thank you guys for being the first. Do you want to go around and quickly introduce yourselves?
Sure.
My name is Jens.
On violin.
On violin.
I'm Claire, and I sing. I do vocals.
I'm Macaulay, and I sing and play guitar.
I'm Johnny. I play bass.
Wonderful. Well, we always like to kick it off with a song. So what have you got for us?
We'll play our first single we put out. It's called Wrong.
Wicked. Take it away.
Somewhere beyond this kettle ditch, cooked in the sun, where the neighbors burn their trash on the front lawn. Spend the next week in bed. When I wake up, I don't recognize you, and it scares me half to death not to know you. Don't be a stranger, you come around. Take some time to yourself and just hang out. I could tell you 100 things, I could tell you I know something's wrong. Something's wrong. Do you drink in the quiet? Do your eyes seek a most brilliant shade of black? Some respite from desire, where you could lay down beside an old friend. You say, damn, Heron, it's good to see you again. Next time, don't you stay away so long. Say goodbye to the engines that stretch the sky, to Texas crew crooning into goodnight. Hold your tongue when I step into your sights. I know something's wrong. Something's wrong. And sometimes I think you're the conversation I have with with myself on the way to work. Or that murmur that I'm chasing all night. When the lights shut off.
What's the stars there with Wrong? Guys, thank you so much. That was great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go from the beginning then. What's your origin story? How did you guys all meet up? How did you come together?
The origin story. Well, some of us were in another band years ago called Ava Marie, and that band kind of went on a hiatus. And I kind of have to always be musically working somehow, and usually recruit friends to do so with me. And so when Ava Marie went on hiatus originally, I asked more or less the three that are here with me tonight to play as well. Mm-hmm. And I had kind of a vague concept for a project. Maybe it was less of a concept and more that my songwriting had changed. And while the last project was more kind of guitar-driven indie rock, I wanted to do something more kind of laid back, kind of like shoegazy, old country-y, folky. I had some ideas, and yeah, we got together and we recorded an album about a year ago, or an EP rather, a year ago at the Outlier Inn in the Catskills in New York. And after that, Claire was in Oregon, I was in Oregon briefly. Things were kind of all over the place, and
Johnny was in New Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah.
The future of the band was very unclear. We all, played music on our own, but how we were going to continue as a project was very murky. And around Christmas time last year, around this time, I got an email from someone who I know who put our last project out on their label, and they were asking if I'd be interested to come to South by Southwest in March. And I was like, of course, I want to do that, but I'm in Oregon with Claire. The rest of the guys are in Vermont. Like, how is this going to happen? And once we got confirmation that indeed we could come to South by Southwest, I just got in my car and drove back across the country. Nice. And I was in Oregon for like a month and a half. Obviously, it didn't work out. But yeah, we got together in our place of origin in Poultney, Vermont, about an hour and a half south of here, and began working for South by Southwest. In March, we flew out, played the show, and in May of last year, we moved to Burlington, and have kind of been trying to, kind of go on a run since then.
So you're all from Vermont originally,
No.
apart from yourself, which is from New Jersey?
None of us are from Vermont.
Yeah.
So you all just found yourself in this tiny corner.
We all went to
Corner of the world.
school together at Green Mountain College at some point.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah. And our sometimes drummer, who's not here tonight when we do electric stuff, also went to school with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. That seems to be a lot of similar stories of good bands that come out of Vermont. Seems to be everyone kind of met each other in university, and everything just happened from there. So
Yeah.
Sure.
be great that it's happened again. Obviously, there's something in the air up here that just fuels people's creativity. You were kind of talking about before about how your musical ear changed from like kind of guitar driven to like shoegazy. I saw you describe yourself as dream folk and lo-fi lullaby, which is just wonderfully poetic. But could you kind of articulate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I guess describing something as just folk or indie folk kind of feels like it kind of falls short for I guess maybe what we sound like and the ideas that we have. And apart from composition in terms of instruments and arrangements, I'm very lyric driven, and I think of myself first and foremost as a songwriter and a lyricist rather than a guitar player or a singer. And all of the content for my lyrics, my kind of way of working is directly from dreams. Like I usually wake up in the morning, and I've been pretty good for the last
I don't know, maybe decade of writing my dreams down every day if I can. And from there, that's kind of where the songwriting process begins for me. I also think of music very visually. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like everything that we write in terms of an arrangement, if I'll write like a set of chords, and in my mind immediately I'll have like an image of what those chords look like in terms of a scene. And usually whatever that scene is kind of gives me a starting place to write. And a lot of that imagery, I think, kind of originates from dream imagery that I've kind of half remembered from the night before.
Interesting. And how does the rest of the band build on this? You know, it comes to the rehearsal with lyrics from a dream. How do you guys kind of then build a track around that?
We all dream the same.
Oh, right. That's so convenient.
Yeah. No, Macaulay also kind of writes a melody and bass guitar bit, I think, before he brings it to us generally. So we've got something going on.
Oh, like I thought you meant like bass guitar.
No,
and I was
sorry.
like,
No,
definitely not.
Like a underlying
like a
guitar
foundation.
part. Foundation, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I guess I do, but it changes the minute I bring it to grade. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're mentioning, you know, you went straight off to Austin for when you guys are still very newly formed, and I noticed you're on a tour for a lot of the start of this year. So you played in Ohio and Austin, obviously, Colorado. You did stop in Chicago for a minute. So how was it to being like basically finding your sea legs while on the road as a band?
Yeah.
Actually, that was a solo tour. I wish it was full band.
Oh,
but,
I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I was actually touring out to Oregon to meet Claire.
I'm from Oregon originally.
And my friend Jake McKelvey and I, who's also a musician, we spent 2.5 weeks, I think, touring from coast to coast. And yeah, I mean, it's different every time. It's kind of funny. Like I've been doing that kind of touring for about 7 years now. But like I said, it's different every time. And so it's a good and bad feeling to kind of feel like you're starting from scratch on every tour you go on. But that's kind of what it feels like. And so, like, in some ways, you know, the Waffle House stops and the sleeping on strangers' floors is quite familiar. Mm-hmm. But everything that comes along with, you know, playing shows in different towns every night, it's definitely, like you said, finding your sea legs kind of over and over again. So in terms of playing these songs out live for kind of the first time, it went really well, I think. It was pretty good. We definitely had some slow stretches once we got out west. Touring there was a lot different. I mean, here you can hit like 10 stops within like a 3 or 4 hour radius. Mm-hmm. And out west, you know, you're driving for 8 hours, like kind of at least between cities. And so, yeah, definitely a different process.
Right. Unless you want to play a load of truck stops, which probably doesn't have the same kind of audience.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear another track.
Sure.
So, yeah, you want to introduce one and explain what it's about?
Yeah, let's see. Want to do Cornfields?
Sure.
Alrighty. This is the first track on our debut EP, Danish Rock Hall Feet. It's called Cornfields. I'm trying to think what I can say about it, really. It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of like the statement piece for the EP. So if that lends a hand to anything, yeah.
All right. Well, take it away.
Maiden of the black rum and the murky deep, you know how empty the days can be. Queen of horseflies in the pitch black heat, drifting all alone in a milky sea. Your motorbike's ruined like the bones of a beast in a dark garage on a plot unseen. Your voice kicked up gravel and dead dog's teeth. Whispers in my ear when I can't find sleep. Is there heaven in the dirt? Is there a thought of me? Be my ride, I'd lay down a pallet and invite you inside. Could have sworn I seen angels in the cornfields last night. They fed me cold water, tore the skin from my eyes. Do you believe the things that you will never touch and never see again? Vanished plots of sun shining, cicadas screaming in the summer wind. Do you love the things that you will never touch and never see again?
Do you love the things that you will never touch and never see again?
Cornfield there by a Box of Stars from their debut EP, Days Drunk Off Heat, which came out this September. The first EP is often the hardest I've heard from bands. It's been described to me as like giving birth. Tell me about it, the beginning, middle, and end of the whole thing.
That's quite accurate, actually. Yeah, definitely. This was definitely the hardest push I've had to do in terms of getting a piece of music out. I don't know how you guys feel.
I'm cringing there.
But yeah, so I actually I had this kind of collection of songs kicking around for about a year or so, and went to I had this idea of recording it to cassette, actually on like a 4-track, and I kind of hired a friend of mine to help me do that, and we ended up doing all this kind of wacky stuff where we would try and blend the 4-track with like digital recordings, and it was just really, it was sounding interesting, but it wasn't sounding like the record I guess I envisioned. And so kind of after making this kind of the first time, I just kind of said I'm gonna keep these as demos and we're gonna try this again. And I think originally I was really kind of opposed to the idea of making this like kind of a big polished recording, especially the people that I'm influenced by are definitely big into kind of being home recordists and following that tradition. And I thought originally this project would kind of do the same. However, kind of being discouraged from that first try, I thought, well, let's email a few studios and see what we get. Our engineer that we ended up working with, Josh Druckman, down in Woodridge and New York, ended up getting back to us and was able to squeeze us in the fall. And he runs kind of a retreat recording studio. And so the deal was like, we lived there together for a little bit, made the album, and it kind of came out with this. And so once we kind of kicked into gear and got to that phase, things got a lot easier. But up until that point, it was just like, how is this going to get made? Like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so like he's got like a state of the art place and he's brilliant at what he does. And I think we recorded it in like, was it 2 days? It's pretty quick.
It was,
Like
it was
two and a
too
half?
quick. We would have loved to have a lot more
Yeah.
time to just stay there
It
and
was a real,
play.
5-star birthing process.
Yeah,
Fun
yeah,
learning process.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a
Doctors and midwives.
The whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a beautiful property. There's lots of tiny homes on it, and Google it.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening, it's cool.
Outlier
Yeah.
in.
I did manage to get to see a couple of photos from your Facebook page, and it looks gorgeous. Was it 2 days just because everything just clicked right away, or was it because you did have that time constraint, or were you just seeing the dollars kind of flick past and like, right, we need to get out of here as quickly as possible?
Oh man. Well,
I think there's a reality of just starting out in a music project and watching the dollars kind of flip by. I think that's one of the barriers, at least.
yeah, and it's hard because like as an engineer, Josh was super generous with his time and kind of like got us in a good spot. But yeah, that was definitely an issue. Was finances on our end. And in some ways, it's nice to have kind of like an end date on making a record because it can just go forever. And so that encouraged things in some ways. But having that being said, I wouldn't complain about having a month. But yeah, and then I went back like a week after that for only 4 days to mix it. And yeah, and honestly, like I think in the past, like there's kind of this feeling when you make a record, you put all this work into it, and the writing process is long. Composing with your friends or whoever takes a while, and then by the time you actually have the physical thing, it's like, is this it? Like, was this the whole thing? And oftentimes, upon listening to it, you're like, oh man, I could have done it better. And you kind of go like immediately to the next thing that I'm doing. Like next time it will be better, And with this record, while some of those feelings occurred, I definitely felt like it was more of a complete thing that had happened in the past. And so, yeah.
I mean, from my objective standpoint, lovely and well produced.
Thank you.
As a record. Listening to it earlier on, and it sounds very crisp and quite unique in terms of the sound that you're finding there.
Appreciate it.
So I'm assuming it's partly you and partly fantastic engineers and wonderful studios.
Definitely.
A little bit both, yeah.
48-hour timeline and trying to get these things done.
Yeah.
So I also read that you've mentioned the EP is about migration of all things, being the basic function of the universe. So do you care to expand on this, and how did that serve as a core theme of the album?
Yeah. So I guess composing this album was kind of funny. Like, the majority of us lived within probably like 5 minutes of each other, all in this small town. And yet we barely got together as a group in the beginning. I was doing this thing where I would like call Jens and go to his house for a couple of hours, and we would write parts together. And then the next day I would call someone else and we would go to their house and work on parts. And I think there were definitely a few full band rehearsals before the studio, but in terms of it actually becoming, like a project, like a band, it didn't happen until the studio. And so I think kind of like isolation and making these kind of like little separate trips to see people, that was kind of like my first hint that this was going to be kind of like a theme of the album. And then I think more directly as it corresponds to the material and the lyrics, it's hard for me to say, like, when I'm writing a song, it's not like I sit down with a story to tell and I talk about the Titanic for like 10 minutes or something like that. Like, it's not like a matter of like recounting history or talking about something like that. It's more like a process of uncovering, and through that, the lyrics kind of slowly reveal themselves. And so, I wrote these 7 songs and then kind of had some time to look back and think about them, and kind of it became clear what I was writing about. And that was kind of this idea. When I was younger, like 18, 19, 20, I was hitchhiking and hopping freight trains around the country. And I was pretty bad at it in the sense that, like, when I got somewhere I liked, I just wanted to stay. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere. And in the years since then, now that I'm kind of here in Vermont and I've been here for some time, I thought in my mind a lot of the time is like, you know, what if I had stayed in, you know, Pensacola, Florida, or somewhere else that I got along for a little while. And I guess like that theme of kind of becoming and what you might become had you kind of settled somewhere else was kind of central to kind of the lyrics of this album. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you ever go spend a weekend hopping trains again just to see if you've still got it?
I love the idea. I have not. Like I said, I even at the time, I wasn't having a good time. Like, it was the kind of thing where, like, I would do it, and I would be like, oh, this is so miserable. And then, like, I'd have a few days off, and be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It was kind of fun. I'll do it again. And that's just kind of how life went for a while. But now that I'm really not doing it, while the idea is still kind of romantic in my mind, like, I wasn't good at it. And, like, I was pretty miserable all the time. So probably not. I don't know.
You're obviously born 100 years too late, or I suppose if you're finding it miserable, maybe not. We did have a wonderful person in the studio about a year ago who one of his jobs was previous jobs was going around interviewing hobos from the turn of the century.
Wow.
And he regaled me a lot about those, like hop trains and the kind of definitions between them and the symbols that they'd put on the trains and all sorts. It was very, as you said, very romantic.
Yeah, yeah.
And you all seem to kind of migrate as a band anyway. I mean, as you said, you've kind of gone from coast to coast touring on your own. You come from Oregon. None of you come from here. What are your experiences, everyone else's experiences, migrating around the country or elsewhere?
I think I've been on tour with them with past bands. I think it's definitely influenced our sound. I think just by going to these places and having like experiences you couldn't make up, and then I don't know, all of a sudden we come back together afterwards. I feel like it really does like influence how we sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think there's a whole new perspective you can gain on your, interpersonal being by being surrounded by new things. Every few days or every few weeks or whatever you have there. But in my experience with music, that's really helped form sounds in the same way for me. And playing a song one place puts a whole different light on it than somewhere else. As would maybe be obvious, but some of my experience with it, yeah.
No, I think it's a good point that I don't think it's usually that well recognised. Well, talking of which, I'd love to hear another song. So what have you got for us?
Should we just do Migratory Birds since we're on the subject?
Sure, yeah.
I think that would be suitable.
Yeah.
Right. Take it away.
Settler, come in. It don't matter what you did. I still see the same colors of days drunk off feet. Our bodies sweat the same as they do on the day we die. And a world away, she tucks herself into myself grow young. Utopias moving out from under us. As the centuries of sunlight that kiss the veils beneath your eyes, fractal shadows pass, going, gone. And a world away, she tucks herself into the clay under twin. Ooh.
Migratory Birds there by A Box of Stars. Did I get the title right there? Migratory Birds?
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. And talking of titles, actually, I was very curious about what the inspiration was for the EP title, Days Drunk of Heat.
Yeah.
Very poetic again, but yeah, what's the inspiration?
Kind of what we were talking about earlier, actually. I think with that time in my life, I guess, like I said, I'm not running off to Hot Trains on the weekends, but there is part of me that really misses, I guess, the feelings associated with being that young and I don't know what the word is, having no responsibility and no one expecting anything from you, and having kind of all these different lives, different places in the country, and kind of making the rounds between them. And I guess like the feeling I get for that time, I think of as this kind of like curled up sick feeling in my gut, but it's a good sick feeling, and I'm kind of constantly chasing it. And it's like, I guess the kind of sick feeling you get from reading like a great line in a book, or seeing something beautiful in a movie, or hearing something in a song. I guess it's all kind of the same feeling, and it's a little it's like kind of warm and slightly, I don't want to say nauseating, but like you definitely feel, I don't know,
maybe a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed kind of, yeah. And heat is kind of the sensation that comes to mind. And being drunk off heat, that's what that is to me, what that means to me. Yeah.
And so the last EP came out in September. Have you got plans to do maybe a full album in the near future? I mean, it's obviously not too long since you came out of the studio, or you released the album at least. So I'm not trying to press you too much, but yeah, what are the future plans?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, if I don't want to speak for everyone personally, if like, it's hard because like, if it were exclusively up to me and I had, unlimited funds and could just support whatever, I would tour for like 200 days a year and then be in the studio the other 100 and take whatever 50 off, or to write like I would do this constantly if everything allowed for that. Yeah, I don't know, but
200 days on the road a year sounds bit, but we could talk.
Yeah, might be some negotiation.
Yeah,
exactly.
That being said, yeah, I think it'll happen within the year, we'll have time for another stint in the studio. Whether that be Outlier End, hopefully it is again. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I have a really hard time taking time off, and so when we finish, I kind of want to just hop back into writing mode and pump out another 10 songs or whatever. This time it's been a little different. I guess in some ways this album felt kind of bigger in terms of I guess concept and work we put into it, etc. And so maybe the next thing can't just come from it. It has to kind of emerge on its own a little bit, and it is starting to now. But I can't say that we'll be in the studio next month. I think more likely, I think we're hopefully play a few more shows or a lot more shows. I've got another solo tour planned for March, and then maybe this summer go back in the studio again.
Nice. So you got a solo tour coming up. Have you got any gigs coming up as a band altogether?
Mm-hmm.
We do tomorrow at the North End Studios, Nightshade Kitchen, Foam Brewers. We're playing. Let's see, who else is playing tomorrow night? Man, I look at that event.
Yeah.
I think, I hope I'm not wrong. I think Danny and the Parts maybe was one of the names of the bands, and then Bear's Tapestry maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that sound right?
We should know. Sorry.
We should know.
You nailed it actually.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, I just found the
Great.
poster.
You
Yeah.
got
Awesome.
the poster in front of you.
Cool.
Danny and the Parts of Bear's Tapestry, $5 admission, guys. But
Yeah.
Nightshade Kitchen at Foam Brewers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, we have a show in Winooski at Wishbone Studios. That's free.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's their 1 year
1 year
anniversary
anniversary.
celebration. So celebrating all of the artists that share that space, and we'll be playing there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And how about South by Southwest next year? Are you put on the bill there
Oh my
again?
God,
I'm
we
checking
would
the email
love-
every
we
day.
would love to.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I think at the time it seemed like it would happen again, and now I have no idea. Let's hope. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Have you got plans to hit any other maybe lesser festivals than South by Southwest? I mean, we're going for the tippy top here, but I mean, there's plenty of others around.
If by plans you mean applications that I've sent in, then yes, but we have not heard back yet.
Yeah.
I think we will hear back one way or the other in the coming months. But
Which are the ones you're really keeping your fingers and toes crossed for?
definitely Waking Windows here, and then Treefort maybe in Boise, Idaho, and then let's see, anything else. Was it Otis Mountain Get Down in New York?
Yes, another fantastic festival.
Yeah, those are kind of the three that we're looking at right now.
Wonderful. Well, I think we've probably got about time for one last song.
Sure.
Is there any other plugs before we leave it that you'd like to plug away? Instagrams or Facebooks? Or,
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Was Instagram and Facebook. What are just a box of stars? At
Yeah.
both of them. I don't know the Facebook. Yeah, a box of stars on Instagram. Check us out. We recently made the Instagram. There's not a lot of content on there yet,
I
but
think,
still follow. There'll be more soon.
We're definitely slackers in the social media realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we have Instagram, Facebook, and Bandcamp. I think it's
Yeah.
all just a box of stars. I don't think there's anything else tagged on.
I would say, on a personal note, the album artwork for Days Drunk Heat. If your Instagram is anything reflective of the album artwork, then everyone should check it out because it's good. Really like the sleeve cover on that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Who took that? Photo?
No, so this really actually that's the person to plug. There's probably a bunch of people that I'm forgetting, but the person who did that is a super amazing photographer, Allison Scarpula. She's got a bunch of stuff on her website and a great Instagram. From what I know, she's kind of like a surrealist photographer, and I think a lot of her work, I'm pretty sure her process has to do a lot with soaking film, like in wine and different substances. I read a little bit about her, and from what I've read, that's kind of what she does. But anyway, her color palette, really, really gorgeous and unique, and yeah, she's worth checking out, definitely.
Wicked. Well, go Facebook follow and Instagram follow and check a box of stars out at the Nightshade Kitchen tomorrow with Danny and the Parts and Bears Tapestry. And yeah, let's hear one last song to play us out. What have you got for us?
Sure. Do Motion Sickness? Alrighty. Yeah, this one's unreleased. It's new. It'll be probably on the,
Oh, wonderful.
the next thing one day. It's called Motion Sickness.
In that golden hour, when the sun does fall into a crystal cavern, illuminating painted walls, and I among the lesser beings, and you asleep in bed, chasing wiry head puppy dogs through dark Arcadian grass. It's an old and tired motion, but it still feels new to me. Some stale circadian rhythm, a feverish jubilee. And when I lie beside you, still spinning in its glow, with 1,000 miles till morning, no clear direction home. Dying if I should linger, too long to miss you when I go. The downwind curves the motion sickness, but the wind blowing down recalls what you already know. That it's all just passing by.
That was a beautiful way to send us out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for coming in. It's really been appreciated.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for also being the first band in the studio. So
Oh man, yeah, thanks.
it was a good first band to have.
Awesome.
Great.
Cool,
Thank
cool.
you.
Well, this has been the Rocket Shop. I've been your host, Tom Proctor. Join me next week. We've got Justin Lapointe and Reed Parsons coming in for our show just before Christmas. Once again, big thank you to your Box of Stars for being in this evening. And yeah, I'll check you next week.